Good evening. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for May 22nd, 2019, room 124 at 7:10 p.m. Tonight we have one public hearing, which is to preserve at Abbeville and Abbeville Common. We'll continue that public hearing, and then we're going to approve some minutes, and we have some new business, which will be reviewing rules and regulations for the Zoning Board of Appeals. So at this time, we will continue the preserve at Abbeville and Abbeville Common. The applicant, as you know from our last meeting, purchase and sale expired. So he no longer had a purchase and sale. He was working and is continually working with the current owners of the property to regain site control. I think obviously everybody knows there's been a report submitted to DEP on the number of PCBs on the site in different areas. Rich McCarthy has been in touch with DEP. We're waiting to hear back from them as to a meeting to determine how they want to proceed with that. The Placido development is also working with remediation companies to help the man people determine what the cost to remove the PCBs on the site would be as well. And the PCBs were found in the Mill River, and they were also found in the landfill. So they're working on those. So what we are going to do is it's really the purview of Mass Housing to determine if this 40B can still go forward, or does it have to stop, and then whether it be a reapplication, depending on what the Placido development does, whether he develops the property on the LaRusso side, or if he continues developing both parcels. So what we are going to, I'm going to ask is that the board move to request the Mass Housing as a subsidizing agency for the Abbeville Commons and Abbeville Preserve to consider, pursuant to Chapter 40, B Regulation 7-60, CMR 5604-3, whether the applicants for these projects, Abbeville Residential LLC, continues to have site control for the land that is the subject of this project application, given the expiration of the purchase and sale agreement for the project site. And also to request that they review an application for the LaRusso property, whether it requires a new 40B application.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion. Any discussion? 1 second, we'll get to you. Thank you. Board first. John? Question?
No questions.
Okay. Now we'll open up. Sandy, you have a question? Or comment?
You want to vote first on this?
Nope, we'll hear the
You want to do?
public comment
Oh,
first,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Hi, Sandy Myatt, 8 Eric Road. So I know that having site control is important, and I think the ZBA has the power right now to deny this comprehensive permit, and I'm wondering why you don't go down that path. And I have an alternate motion, if I can present one. I'm not sure of the proper procedure.
We would have to first vote on this motion. You can tell us what your alternate motion is.
Okay? Well, it says, I move that the Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals ask the applicant.
Sandy, can you wait? Can we get copies of this for all the members, just so they all have a copy in front of them?
That's good.
Yeah. Bear with us. Thanks. Chris, we're going to take a 1-minute break if we can, where they make copies. Welcome back to the zoning board meeting, zoning board of appeals. We are in a public hearing with regard to Abbeville Commons, Abbeville Preserve. I will remind everybody this meeting is being audio and video recorded per the open meeting laws of Massachusetts. At this time, Sandy, you were going to, we were discussing a motion that is on the floor. Sandy, you have an alternate motion that you'd like us to hear?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So now you all have a copy of it. It says, I move that the Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals ask the applicant for Abbeville Commons and the Preserve at Abbeville to withdraw his application for a comprehensive permit for failure to provide site control as required by Mass Housing and requested at the April 3rd, 2019 Zoning Board of Appeals public hearings by the chairperson. If the applicant does not withdraw tonight, May 22nd, 2019, the ZBA shall deny the comprehensive permit without prejudice. If at some point there is both a resolution of the hazardous waste issues under the Mass Contingency Plan via a permanent solution and the applicant regains site control, then the applicant may apply for a comprehensive permit with all materials updated and required by 760 CMR 56.04 and listed in the guidelines for the comprehensive permit projects. Note that the guidelines ask for many items, among them the summary section of a Phase 1 21E report and proposed efforts to mitigate any environmental impacts. The Buckley and Mann site is still under investigation and does not reach the condition of no significant risk to human health or the environment, and mitigation measures have not been specified. Proof that the applicant controls the site, developer, which means the developer holds title or a contract for purchase. The purchase and sale expired March 29th, 2019, and all response actions have ceased and the LSP of record resigned. Another item they asked for is a site plan showing contours of the site and the footprint of all proposed buildings, roads, parking, and other improvements. If the disposal site boundaries are not established, the siting of the infrastructure, including roads, the wastewater treatment plant, etc., may need to be changed. So I wonder why we are entertaining this application with all these unknowns.
We are entertaining it because Mass Housing has not ruled that he does not have a 40B project. Mass Housing has not issued anything to the Zoning Board of Appeals saying that the 40B is no longer in play. So that's why we're still entertaining it. And though your motion is very well done, the applicant is not here to withdraw. Why is he not here? Because he had no reason to appear because we are going to ask Mass Housing to rule on this. And we're going to ask them if he has, so basically, at the next hearing with this applicant, we will have this determination. Mass Housing will determine whether or not this 40B is still in play or whether it no longer exists, and whether or not he can develop the property on the other site.
So what if Mass Housing does not reply to you?
Mass Housing will reply. They have to.
And what's the time frame do you expect?
The next hearing we have for Abbeville is July 17th, so we're going to write the letter tomorrow and give them 45 days to respond.
So he's already been without a purchase and sale for 50 days.
Correct.
Right. And so you're going to give him all the way to July 17th.
Where we have to now wait for Mass Housing. He has been working to gain site control. He has some site control right now. Obviously, he's been allowed to go on the site to do testing and bring a mitigation company out there. So they have given him that. So he has been trying to reach that. He does not have it yet. He is working towards that. So we're good. The Mass Housing recommendation is to send it into them. And the attorney's recommendation is to send it into them, allow Mass Housing to determine whether or not this can go forward. They may get back to us in a week.
So has Mass Housing been notified of all the PCB levels on this site?
I think Mass Housing, I don't know. DEP was. I don't know if Mass Housing has.
Will you include that in your letter?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can give them a copy of the DEP report or link it to them. Any other questions?
I assume, Karen McCabe, Lawrence Street, I assume the July 17th date is because you're giving 45 days to the state? Is that why it's July 17th?
July 17th is, if you look at our schedule, June is pretty booked. So July 17th is the next opening we have for a hearing for them. So we had.
Yeah, I think this neighborhood's been going through enough for 2 years. I think you can open up a slot.
we can open up a slot.
Yeah, that's what I
We can, but
request.
the applicant who has we have opened up one slot already.
Okay,
So the applicant who's in waiting has not pushed to come forward. So we're gonna give every opportunity. We have one applicant out there, 194 Main Street is the only other applicant out there in the 40B queue at this time. 144 Seekonk is already scheduled for an open hearing next month.
yeah, no, what I meant was, instead of waiting to July 17th, we've been through enough. We've been through this for 2 years. It's the same as our bridge. 2 days is 2 months. 2 months is 2 years. Like, we've been through enough. I think June is an expected date to hear about this again.
If we had answers back from Mass Housing, we can certainly try to do something to fit them into the schedule, but we have to give Mass Housing time. And Mass Housing doesn't react that quickly.
You said they could react possibly in a week?
They could. If they do, we'll actually schedule something. But right now, we've allowed him to continue the 17th of July. They may come back earlier than that. At that time, we can always make other arrangements.
So if they come back early, you will move the
If they come
meeting
back
up?
early, I will go to the developer and we'll try to schedule another hearing. I think we can,
Well, I think if we continue it publicly
Right?
to this.
well, then we'll,
I don't know.
well, we'll do, well, he has given you, what we'll do is, why don't we continue it to June? And then what we'll do is, if we have to continue it again, because Mass Housing has not responded to us, please
Right.
understand that we're
Yep.
continuing it because of Mass Housing. We're not continuing it because of the developer,
Agreed.
okay?
Yeah.
Does that sound fair?
That sounds fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just looking to get my schedules. 19th. All right. So what we will, we first gotta finish the first motion. So what we'll do is, we will continue to June 19th, not July, which is our first open slot in June for any additional hearings.
So do we have to amend the first motion?
The first motion does not,
Specify
reference
date?
a date, so we can do
Good.
the first motion.
Good.
So we have a motion on the table. We're gonna ask Mass Housing to review this, determine whether or not the 40B is still in play, or whether or not it has to be shut down. Also, whether or not the application would allow him to develop the LaRusso property if he no longer seeks to develop the Buckley Man property, whether that requires a new 40B application, or if one of his existing applications can be used for that purpose. So we were asking two things. We're going to include in this application that we will include the link to the DEP site, so they understand the PCB levels that were found. And obviously, as Rich gets more information, we will pass that on. If we get any more information from DEP, we'll pass that on to Mass Housing as well.
He's already seconded.
Yes. So we've had discussion. Any further discussion from any members of the board?
No.
Any other discussion?
I just have one question,
Okay.
since this, it's Lawrence Wilson, 22 Lawrence Street. Purchase and sale expired on March 29th. Why is it taking us this long to get to the Mass Housing and pass it on to them and say, hey, what do we do here? We've waited, almost 2 months here since that
Yeah.
period of time?
The developer was trying to work with the owners of the property to regain site control. And they just could not come to agreement. And then obviously, when they could no longer come to agreement, and the DEP forced the report, the LSP had to obviously resign of record. And at that time, obviously, the PCB issues were presented, and it created a whole new atmosphere around this project. So that's why.
Well, that was all that happened on March 29th. Why'd we wait
It didn't
this
all happen
long?
on March 29th. That we did not know the levels of PCB on March 29th. We didn't have that information. Well, we knew there was some level, but not the levels that we have found since. And at the same time, he was trying to regain site control at that time.
Why are we bending over backwards for this particular land speculator?
We're not bending over backwards. I think you, the town, this board has put a lot of efforts into this project. Whether we like it or not, a lot of effort has been put into it. So I don't think there's any reason we wouldn't afford them the courtesy of trying to regain site control and try to move this project forward. Okay? All right, we have the motion on the table, we have a second, no further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay,
So June 19th?
Mhm.
Or move it-
June 19th,
And
yeah.
what time?
I'd like to have a motion to move the Preserve Abbeville Commons 40B public hearing to June 19th at, Amy, do we have a time of the 29 Needham Street yet? Did you?
No,
We
it
don't?
hasn't been advertised at all.
Okay, so why don't we do that at 7 o'clock?
7 p.m.
So 7 o'clock for the Preserve Abbeville Common to continue the public hearing with regard to whether or not the applicant has site control and whether or not the 40B can continue forward. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we continue the hearings for Preserve at Abbeville and Abbeville Commons to June 19th at 7 p.m. on the motion of if they still control the site.
Correct.
And if, anything else?
That's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
And a response from the,
And a response from Mass Housing.
correct.
Again, to June 19th at 7 p.m.
Second. All those in favor?
I have a question. You know, if we haven't heard back from Mass Housing, we're gonna just announce?
We will then continue it till July 17th.
All right, so we'll announce on the 19th that we
Correct.
haven't heard back from them. All right,
Correct.
just,
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
all right.
Okay. Very good. If we hear anything sooner, we'll certainly let you know. Sorry, we closed the hearing, no.
What if you don't hear anything by the 17th?
We'll hear something. We will hear something.
What if you don't?
I will hear something. Okay? You can come down my house. I will hear something, okay? All right? I will hear something. Don't worry.
Believe me.
All right, at this time, we are going to look at our rules and regulations. And Rich McCarthy, do you want to guide us?
All right, I'm gonna,
Okay, yes, you can be excused, Mr. Glazer.
thank you.
All right,
He has another meeting.
me, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So what we,
So we write all the power to Mike, right?
Amy's diligently put together, we have two copies in front of you tonight. You have the original.
I don't have it.
This one's,
Amy, do you have an extra copy?
I have a copy right here.
For-
Right here.
Another one?
Okay, well, we can
No, I
share.
have a copy. It's, Bob that needs a copy.
Thank you. Wow. Oh, it's the original.
original, well, original copy. So, what we put together, there's a original copy of the rules and regulations, and then there's one labeled on top, markup, which one is for discussion for changes. The, go through,
Markup is the one that has the yellow and red, correct?
yeah, yellow, red, and it also has green.
Okay.
We have green on there as well.
Green is good, right?
Green is,
Green means go.
actually, it's opposite.
Oh, yeah?
No, it's a, no, we're tricking you here. Green is actually, we need to discuss a little bit, give it some consideration, thought. Yellow is new, and red is, self-explanatory, it's got strike through, so. But, so we tried, one of the bigger goals is trying to organize things together. Things are in separate parts about meetings and so forth, so try to flow it all together in one cohesive way to write up the regulations for the board. And then, so we wanna start from the beginning?
Sure.
All right.
Amy, do we have any copies for Donna and Anne Marie? So they can follow along?
You're all set now? They'll go to the copy machine for me, but yeah, no, I have copies.
Excuse me.
The original and the markup. You don't want to see the final so much.
Because there will be a quiz at the end of the night, so we want you to be prepared.
We'll be equipped.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rich.
All right, so the first page, 1 of 24 on the markup, I don't know if there's anything you have issue with what you see there, or if there's something else within here that you have any concerns with. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Can I
On
say
the first
something?
page?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. But since I did this,
Uh-huh.
I thought again about listing the MGL chapters and sections. For instance, the open meeting law MGL and sections that I told you doesn't exist anymore.
Uh-huh.
These may not either someday, so we might wanna just say applicable Mass General Law and Commonwealth Mass regulation, instead of actually listing them.
So you could say as amended and applicable, instead of, you know, and regulations including.
Well, I could say include but are not limited to, so, okay, I guess that's okay.
Okay.
Well, we've been working trying to amend 48 for 30 years, so I don't know.
How soon it's gonna happen?
So we probably have 30 years.
Don't know. I wouldn't count on it, but
Okay,
Say,
all right,
as applicable, is that what you just said?
Right.
Well, you have it in there already.
yeah, okay, never mind.
All right. So we flip to page 2. So this is kind of interesting, just a good read back from the old regulations about the responsibility of the clerk. Don? You're the clerk right now, right?
oh, Joe.
No,
I
Joe
am.
is
I
the
am.
clerk.
We're trying to train Don,
Oh, trying to change on.
Officially, Joe is the clerk.
All right.
especially when you're out of town.
You may want to change duties if you read through here, but, you know, so we put in, again, add administrative assistant, because everything refers to clerk in here, and as you know, over time, things have shifted more to staff to try to take care of these matters as far as
Right, yeah.
with the board.
Yeah. Some of these were things we suggested earlier.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
This
so,
clerk part was mostly from the
Yeah, Don and
document
I,
you
I
get.
think Don and I
Yeah.
wrote this part up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So there isn't anything, everything seemed to be pretty straightforward. The one I will want to draw your attention to, is the piece about the clerk. So at the end, I'll jump down the page there, the clerk shall draft other correspondence as directed by the board and submitted to the administrative assistant. That really is not, at least presently, the way things are occurring. I'm not sure that makes sense necessarily for the future either. So I'm interested to get some feedback.
I have a comment, Rich, on A.
Okay.
Okay, prior to each meeting, the clerk or administrative assistant shall call each full and associate member of the board.
Yeah, that might be.
And I was gonna suggest that we change that to shall notify each full and associate member of the board by phone or electronic messaging.
I was gonna say call or text.
Or maybe just poll.
Or just say notify.
Just say contact or notify.
How about contact?
Just contact or
How
notify.
about contact?
Shall contact each full and associate member of the board.
Contact in the affirmative.
That way it covers everything,
Okay?
So contact.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we might have some other future communication that we don't.
The telepathy.
And then D. Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably eliminate D.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, is Amy's, there any situations where, I haven't seen any.
No, I haven't.
No, usually the board, I mean, you
Right.
kind of craft a letter together and then it gets written and then
Right.
it's not,
Right.
not through the clerk. So we'll just delete that.
Okay.
Where do we cover the write-up of the hearing notices? Where's that covered?
That covers later.
Hearing notices?
Yeah, they're later.
Later, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, later on.
Mhm.
Okay.
The one,
The postings.
so the next one down in green, we're gonna actually suggest we change it to associate, cause that's actually what's in the zoning bylaw, associate members, not alternate,
Mhm.
just to be consistent. We'll change the green to,
We say an associate member,
Mhm.
but we have two associate members.
Yep. We could put a parentheses if you want, perhaps, associate and members and bracketed the,
Yeah, I think, since we have two, and we seem to
yeah.
continually keep two.
It's already pluralized.
Hmm?
It's already pluralized.
An associate member?
Oh, it says associate members.
Doesn't-
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
An associate
Yeah,
member.
got it, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Keep it the way it is? Or
No, put the
bracket it?
parentheses, bracket,
Bracket.
yep.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
With the quorum straightforward, just 3 for business matters and 4 for permitting. The meetings,
40B though is 5.
Is a 40B 5?
I have to check that, I think you
Well,
need
it's just
5
4.
voting members.
That's what I meant.
Five members for 40B, 3 for business.
Right, so this is, for business purposes, a quorum of is 3 members.
yeah.
Permitting requires 4.
members.
Okay, should there be something in there? 40B requires 5?
It only needs 4, just needs a supermajority.
We should, let's just verify that,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
Verify
You need
40B.
4, definitely to sign, right?
Right, but we should verify with 40B.
Yeah, check on that. If it requires, we'll add it in there.
Sounds fine.
That way, oh, I should have said this in the beginning, so this kind of draft, we're gonna go through this, and then once we settle on the draft language, then we'll have to advertise it for a public hearing for the board to then officially adopt, so. And even if, we have any changes after publishing, we could, but we wanna try to perfect it right now. Division of Open Government is actually, the new department relative to open meeting law. So we, actually, Amy got that from Anthony Turi through the town clerk's office, so it's actually
That's a division of something?
yeah. It's become,
Impressive, isn't it?
it's stepped up.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. We changed the meeting time to 7. Used to be 7:30 in the regulations.
Long, long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, it was 7:30 when I joined.
7:30 would be awesome.
4 years ago, huh?
7:30 would be way easier.
I know, that, it was easier.
Right.
It was much easier.
Oh, would members rather 7:30?
Yeah.
It's long enough, right?
The pain is over.
Could we make it to 7:10?
No. No.
7:15, it worked.
All right, 7 o'clock, we'll keep it at 7.
Alright.
It's nice for when the hearings go very long.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's gonna be the other thing we're writing.
They're gonna
here
go
before
long
we
no
can
matter
do
when you start.
We moved it from 7:30 to 7.
it. Yeah.
Jeez, wow.
Long ago.
We moved it from 7:30 to 7 as we got into our first 40B. And things got, started to get more lengthy and more involved, and we decided that, I think one meeting went to 11 or 11:10, and we said, well, wait a minute. So,
Move it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Special meetings, we just,
We call.
it can be called, and it just needs 48 hours. Notice, we probably. Where should we guarantee 40 hours before time set? I don't know if we need to say in the regulations, but if we don't have enough people, we can't even have a,
Can't have a meeting.
meeting, so it's probably not really that relevant about the. I mean, kinda already cover it, you know, because if you do have a special meeting, it's gotta be 48-hour notice and follow the open meeting law.
You have to have a quorum.
So, we gotta know that you have enough people to even have a meeting, so I'm not sure we need that. We could leave it in there, if you want, about letting the members know 48 hours ahead of time, but essentially, I gotta know. We need to know way before that, actually, if we could even have a meeting. I'm not sure really it's needed, but if you don't mind, I'll just say delete it, I think it's kinda.
No issue with it.
Again, this one just cleans it up so it melds well with our general bylaw about good standing on the first part. And then, like you see, directions there from where it came from before. The next section down, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So the application form. So as you may or may not know, so the building department, they handle all their applications for plumbing and electrical and building and so forth through the online permitting portal. So everything is submitted online through them. As part of that system, the system is designed for the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board of Appeals to submit everything online. Where we are through the implementing that software is we're right now with the Conservation Commission, working with the consultant, Citizen Service, the vendor, to have, so the Conservation Commission will be online. Theirs is a little bit meatier as far as how to get things integrated with the online software, because they still have the state forms as far as what you need to file with, so integrating the two systems has taken a little bit more. But where I'm going with this is that the ZBA essentially is next, and then the planning board after that. Board of Health is already done to go to online permitting. So what we wanted to do is just say here is everything would be done through the online permitting, submittals. And then when submittals come in, we would then send them to you electronically like you get them now. But applicants would apply online. We have a computer in front of our office now that people can, right now, if they want to submit with the Board of Health, they can do it right there, if they can't do it from home. And then it will feed in there. If, for example, and this happens with the building department a little bit, because it's a little bit more cumbersome for some of them, we can help them. So they would come to the office and we would work with them to submit it, to talk them through it. So if somebody wasn't computer savvy to file, we would actually then, help key it in, and then they would still submit it to the board electronically, but they would do it in person. And then what happens is, once it's submitted online, it gets routed, so this good standing that's in here automatically would go to the treasurer's office. And so instead of an applicant having to go to the treasurer to get that form filled out, it would happen routed electronically. The treasurer's office would the applicant would get routed to them, and they would verify if they're in good standing. So that would be automated. And then as part of the next process, to be a complete application, it would go to the town clerk. So it goes through the routing, and then once it arrives with the town clerk, then the clock starts ticking as far as a completed application for, so long story short, we're at that point, so we wanna just continue in that direction. So I have some language I wanna essentially basically say that every application for action by the board shall be made through the online permitting program, to the Board of Appeals, which can be amended from time to time as necessary. And what I would propose to do is, once we're there, we can actually kind of show you how it works, to go through it. And so I want to just tweak that language a little bit. I'll send it back out to you how to reword that.
So it's different than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, it'll be
Right.
different than we have it here.
My only question, Rich, is when will these go into effect?
So these regulations would go into effect, hopefully, we would advertise it, we could talk about that actually. We'd like to try to get it, hopefully in effect in July.
Okay, and I guess the question is, is the online permitting program, is that on track? I mean, to put this in and all of a sudden have July 1, and if for whatever reason we're not getting it to work,
Yeah, so what I could do is maybe have, before we advertise it, is give you two versions of it. Or I might think about wording this so we can kind of integrate into the new system without having to change the language. So I wanna just kind of maybe massage some language to give you to consider, that we can kind of play both sides in case things don't link up, we can transition over.
Well, you could just allude to the fact that once that's ready, that will be the way it would have to be done.
Yeah. We
I
could,
mean, yeah, at the time that becomes ready, that's the way it will be.
and maybe that's the way just to word it in here.
On implementation of the automated
Yeah.
system, all applications shall.
The next section is in yellow, which is new. The one thing I do wanna add in here, I thought I would like to insert, it shall be the responsibility of the applicant to speak prior to submittal with the building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer, and or town planner,
I like that one.
you know. So we would like to try to see if we can get some of this stuff ahead of time.
Good.
So I just wanna insert that, so I would change that and resend it out to you.
See if it even needs to be before the ZBA.
Yeah, we ran into that in the
Yeah,
past.
we've had some things before us that we didn't think should come our way.
Yeah. So we wanna clean that up.
But why would they speak to the building commissioner about a zoning issue? Would the building commissioner advise them about a zoning issue?
Well, his other hat is the zoning enforcement
Oh, okay.
officer, so.
Okay.
And we actually, technically, we don't have a, well, actually, he is the zoning enforcement officer. Actually, you know, we should, now I think about it, we should just probably put a slash, you know, building commissioner slash zoning
Well,
enforcement officer.
the building commissioner he's completely up to speed with zoning issues, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, he's probably an excellent resource. I mean, if not officially, just by, reason, he's a very good resource for advising people.
Yeah, as you see, I mean, you've had, some cases people disagree and appeal his decision of the zoning. His interpretation comes to the board, but yeah, he's the official as far as the, enforcer of the zoning bylaw. So we'll, like I said, we just wanna add in there that,
Do you want the and or with the town planner? I think you want and the town planner, right? Not the or.
yeah,
Cause you have to review it as well.
yeah,
And they should speak to the zoning enforcement officers, building commissioner, and then speak to you.
yeah,
So get rid of the or.
no, good point. Cause oftentimes, what I end up having to do is sometimes they'll speak to me and say, well,
Let's go back to,
you gotta go back to Bob, cause really it's not, my opinion doesn't really carry any weight per se, No, point taken. Alright, so the form will, like I said, will be, the form is really essential, when we get to the forms, is really, what's gonna be on the online server is really just gonna mimic what you already have on the form. If there's anything that, as we get to the forms to look at, that we may want to, have, we can certainly do that. One thing that we are going to have as part of the system is we talked about this, is essentially a signature. It'll be a separate document, because we wanna have the signature from the applicant, and then we'll wanna have the signature from the property owner when somebody files an application. So there'll be a separate affidavit, so people will have to sign that and include that with the application. So we'll have both in the system. And we're doing that with the Conservation Commission, so. Some cases they might be both, but we need to have both of those. In some cases, the application might be submitted by a representative of the applicant and not necessarily, so it might be an attorney or an engineer representing somebody, so we need to have all those different signatures, so we're gonna have a separate, I forget what we're calling it, but
Is it an attachment?
it is an attachment, I forget what we called it, but there's, I'll get back to you, but there is something as part of the software that we're using to have that. Yellow is all new. We're cutting back which technically we've already started to do, the amount of paper copies.
For copies, good.
Yeah, so even though officially you have amended the regulations, we've cut back on paper. In the same way with the associated documents. I think we're actually probably gonna have to tweak it. You know, I should add something in here because the clerk is gonna be,
What item are you looking at, Rich?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm on page 5.
Yep.
Cause the clerk is actually gonna be automating her acceptance of the application, so it won't actually be stamping it. It'll be through the online program, so I need to think of some language. Similar to probably what we just talked about once it goes to online permitting, but, I'm gonna make a note, we need to just circle back with Carol, Amy, just.
Yeah.
So I'm kinda thinking I'm gonna have to come back, just FYI, as we're going through this, so
That's fine.
let's kinda draft one, kinda review, and
Yeah.
then come back, and then,
Just give us, in the next one, just give us the changes from tonight.
yeah, okay.
I guess the hint is all the yellow I'm looking at.
What's that?
The hint is all the yellow I'm looking at.
Yeah. There is
Depending on
a,
the application, we should just be consistent with whether, when we use numericals plus the written text. Some we have 5 and then a 5 in parentheses, some we
Mhm.
don't,
Okay.
just so we're consistent. I don't know if you have to, do you have to put both, or is it, I know in a business letter you typically do, but I don't know if you have to.
Okay.
yeah, the
Just
written and the
semantics.
numerical.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure they're consistent, on both,
Right.
but we should, I think I prefer to do both, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kinda just.
Just if we're gonna do both, do it on all of them.
Yeah, we'll do
right?
it all, we'll proofread that to make sure we did that. Jumping on, yeah.
Gotta correct the spelling on included within application instructions on section 5 on page 6.
Uh-oh. Proofread that.
You're just, you're missing a space.
Oh, that's not really even part of it, that's just saying, it's in brackets to let you guys know.
That's not gonna be there at all?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna be included, but,
So fees, we did, I know it was quite a few months ago,
Yeah, we changed.
but we talked about changing the fees. So we're actually gonna try to unify the fees, so one was increase yours a little bit and lower the planning board, cause the planning board is $750, or $350, Amy? The ZBA?
say again,
The fee for the ZBA?
currently 300.
300, I'm sorry. So we're splitting it between the 500?
Which is the planning board.
Well, they gotta amend theirs too.
Okay,
I haven't got to them yet, but,
all right. Well, we'll get to that later. You have a fee schedule later
Yeah.
on.
yeah. there's
The fee schedule's not included here yet.
I saw it somewhere.
Oh, it's in here later on.
No, not an updated one.
Oh, it must be in the original?
The old one is in
The
there.
old one there, yeah. But we'll talk about when we get to
Yeah,
that.
when we get to
that. And then what we did discuss, at the last time, so going forward, the applicant will be responsible for, paying the advertising fees, which, currently is not the case. It comes out of the fee, so the fee is really getting chewed up,
So the application fee's going up, and there's gonna be additional fee for advertising?
yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you wanna, I'm open to revisit the fee, if you wanna keep your fee, if you wanna keep the fee where it is, cause you're adding, the advertising fee,
Well, let's wait till we get to those fees, and we
Yeah.
can talk about it.
but,
All right.
But right now, we're paying the advertising fee, is that correct?
yeah, we
If
are.
they come out of the application fee.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's included with that, yeah. So 7, we're moving, so again, we're trying to organize this better. 7, this is the notice. Any questions about notice? Is there anything specific or just wanted to look at it?
No, no, it just covers the fact that it's generated by, I guess Amy's generating those. Right, you're generating.
Oh, who does the notice?
Right.
Yes, Amy does it.
Because I know ultimately I technically sign it, you know, even though we worked that out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, do we cover the fact that it has to be written up by the administrative assistant, so I'm getting it. I don't know if that's actually specified in here.
Yeah, let's look at it. Yeah, you who prepares it?
Exactly, I don't know if we've covered that.
Could you just drop it into E? Publications and notices required by this section shall be prepared by and shall contain.
Yeah.
That's all. Sorry.
Shall be
Amy.
prepared by you, right?
No, so I'm sorry. Amy.
By name.
Then we'll fill the post on time. We're done. No more vacations done.
It said Massachusetts open meeting.
Where are you, Rich?
I'm sorry, I jumped to page 8,
Okay,
top.
with the green? Is that what you're referring to?
No, the yellow one, says Massachusetts open meeting law. So, the FPC open meeting law is still there, isn't it, Mass General Law?
No, I don't believe it is. I can Google it right now, but I don't think that exists anymore. But let me, double check it.
Okay, I'm checking it,
This was a long time ago, like I said.
yeah.
Is that a whole section and paragraph are gone?
I'm checking,
Okay.
I'm checking.
Representation, did you want, actually, let me look at it, we might not have this covered, I think. We kinda talked about, not necessarily representation, but, timing of materials, so do we
Yes, you have that.
cover that here?
Where are you looking?
Well, it's just prompted in my head, I just wanna make sure we cover this, cause I know it was an issue with, you know,
It
as
is in
far as-
here.
Huh?
It does talk about timeliness.
Okay, alright, okay, thank you.
So,
On section 4, or section 5, order of business, we have, sorry, you have opening of hearing, reading of newspaper advertisements by the clerk,
by the,
together
Yeah,
with presentation
okay.
of exhibits.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't read the reading of newspaper advertisements, opening of hearing. The clerk
that's the
typically,
notice of hearing.
Right.
Doesn't he read that? No.
but that says opening of hearing, so is that what you're referring to, opening of hearing?
When we open the hearing,
Okay,
yeah. Is that right?
Well, it's saying reading of newspaper advertisements, we don't do that specifically, do we?
I guess it is.
The notice of hearing
Is the advertisement.
Right.
Is the
Okay, okay.
advertisement.
Yeah, the
so
one
it's
that's
the
saying-
notice, the reading of notice of hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
say that.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
instead of newspaper advertisement.
right.
Yeah.
And, sections 23A through C of MGL 39 were repealed in 2009. So they just don't exist anymore.
What is it, what do we,
It's just the open meeting law, and I guess it's that division of open government. I'm not,
okay, alright.
we could talk to Anthony, get it. particular, or Carol, I should say. I had
We do say
spoken to
that
Anthony.
we're open, with the meetings being on video, recorded per the open meeting laws, state of Massachusetts.
Attached to no
Per the,
document.
there is, open meeting law.
Yeah.
There is open meeting law.
There still is open meeting
It's
law.
just
Yeah,
not, it's just
We don't
not
necessarily say
this
Mass
chapter.
General Law chapter, while
Right.
it's repealed, right? So,
Okay.
all right. Sorry about that.
There's a future change coming.
So the one, so it says together, it's hard to read the green in that, sorry.
Mm.
Together with the presentations of exhibits, if any. so-
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. He just
No.
reads the open,
Yeah, so we don't need to,
right, that's why it's green, right?
yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Delete that.
I mean, what you have in green there, you can attach to C if you want. Right, applicant's presentation together with presentation of any exhibits, if any. Cause if they do present anything, we do bring it into, that might be where it goes. Right, C, you go applicant's presentation together with the presentation of exhibits, if any.
I don't think you need to make it that wordy. It's the application's presentation.
Sure. Just trying to find a home for it.
In the trash.
It's also okay to be more concise if we can, you know, that's okay too.
Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah,
Right.
so, questions from Waters?
Shorter last time I looked at this.
All questions must be- All right, so I should have, it's back to my mind, I should have said at the beginning, we're gonna go back and we will change these regulations in relation to the article that's voted on gender at town meeting, so that way we'll.
Right.
Just so you know,
Okay.
we didn't change it yet, and I was just thinking about this today,
Makes
and
sense.
like, so we'll, I guess the gender neutral, whatever that term is, but,
I have a question. You're still on page 8, right?
yes.
I just don't understand, it must be, maybe it's a legal term. All questions must be put to witness, shall be through the chairman of the board. I understand what it means. The wording of it seems, is that a legal term? It was all questions from, this is my interpretation of it, is all questions from anybody other than the board shall be put through the chairman of the board. That's how I read it. And is that some legal term? I've never heard that before.
Either one of
Try
our
to-
attorneys wanna take a stab at that?
Don't you think they're kinda jazzing up? I don't know
I
if we
think
really need that.
I think that's unnecessarily
Yeah, right?
verbose, yeah.
All questions,
All questions presented on the matter pending before the board shall be posed directly to the chairman of the zoning board of appeals.
thank you.
I'll send you a bill.
I tried that.
All questions pending,
Didn't work.
I noticed Bob was pretty quiet over there. He wasn't, no way was he giving away free information.
No, that's the OCD in me, can't let that sit out there like that.
Medora, can you just repeat it?
Oh, good lord.
All questions pending before the board?
All questions, what did I say? All questions pertaining to the matter pending before the board shall be posed directly to the chairman of the zoning board of appeals.
We should always put back the tape.
Yeah, play it back.
I think nine's the only page without a yellow mark on it.
That's okay. I'm on page
Don't
10.
stop.
Yep.
Page 10, yeah.
Do we, define proposal somewhere?
for the proposal.
Where are you looking?
That's what you get from the consultant, right?
It is written as if it's defined somewhere, I agree with Bob, because it's capitalized, like we've previously said. It
Yeah.
shall be named that.
Yeah.
Unless you're referring to something that's in an original article, referring to the Article 2, Section 7. Is it defined there?
That I can't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, well, one, it shouldn't be capitalized, 'cause we don't define that. But then two, that has that word as a choice, I don't know if that's,
Well,
But
in
could
the
it
red, in the
incre-
red you're defining it, right?
Could proposal just be replaced with
I forget
like
which ones
the
here have
case
to
at
purchase
hand or
proposal.
the case?
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is, Joe's correct, it's defined in the strike-through language that nobody's looking at, except for Joe, where it's identified as a component of the 40B, Section 21.
Why would anybody read
Oh.
something that's been stricken?
I think it needs a
Somebody's in a
little,
rush, I
little
guess.
P.
You guys are too much in a
Needs a
rush
small
then.
P proposal.
that's a good point, it's in there, but I don't know if it still makes sense to have in there, I guess, I'm wondering about, I mean.
You can't cite 40B anymore, 21?
No, the idea of proposal, I mean, it's.
Is the intent to make this not just pertain to 40B, it pertains to any, so it's more inclusive of the retention of experts or outside consultants, so all you have to do is just change how you're naming it, right? And then it will pertain to 40B or anything else. So just not a capital P,
It's,
right?
obviously, we need a proposal from a consultant.
Right.
To move on, so it has to be a proposal.
But the word proposal here pertains to chapter 40B, section
Right.
21.
Right.
But the entire article here, section B, says pursuant to chapter 44 and chapter 40B. So I don't know what chapter 44 does in relation to 40B. And if it-
Would it make sense if we left in the part that's in parent and just took out pursuant to MGL chapter 40B, section 21? Because what's in parent could,
You mean the strike-through one or the one that's in the?
yes, the strike-through one. Because what's in parentheses could apply to other
Yeah.
applications too.
There you go, then you can keep your capital P.
You say it again, 'cause I,
Look, where you have it, Amy's spot on. If you just take out, in the beginning of the strike-through language, there's pursuant to MGL chapter 40B, section 21.
oh, I see.
Take that out, and then don't strike out
Proposal.
the parenthetical statement, and then you've defined proposal, and it's applicable across the board of matters that could be pending before the ZBA.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes, co-counsel?
Yeah, give her a lollipop.
Amy wins.
All right, okay, that was easy.
You were flipping through thesauruses and all kinds of stuff, Amy, you just banged it right out.
Page 11,
Application, it makes sense, to make it general. D.
yeah, same. Makes sense, the strike through that we did there. I'm over to 12 at the moment, and so we do have the fees on page 12.
Why is the fees, will the fees going forward be maintained on a separate schedule? In other words, which goes to the question of can you then, can you then change fees without, you just change willy-nilly without having to change the whole document? Just refer to the schedule?
That's why I wanted to take them out.
I mean, can you
Well,
do
you
this?
still, Right now, you still
So
need
you
that.
don't have to change, if you have the fees as part of the regulations,
Mhm.
then you can't change them, the fees,
Right.
without changing.
You have to revise the entire
You have to
regulation.
advertise the whole regulation.
Well, no, you could just amend the fee schedule in the regulation, the whole entire thing, but, you know,
Okay.
but you do have to.
Or you could put the fee schedule with the application
Yeah,
and not have it in the regulation.
you still gotta vote, you still need to hold a hearing and vote on the fee schedule regardless, the way you,
Right.
whether it's separate or attached. But
So you,
How often do
You were-
fees change?
I like the separate, I see where you're going with this, it's the question of efficiency and,
Just put it
With
with
the
the, just put it with the
application.
application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way it can always be amended.
You have to change the whole reg, you don't have to reprint it.
yeah, you could do that. You were trying to, that's fine, yeah. We still have to hold a hearing if we change the fee.
Right, that's a different problem, though.
Yeah, but from a ease of, all right.
you don't open the door for people looking at all the other regulations they wanna change when you're doing that though too,
Yeah.
like that's
Right.
the other, if you're coming before the whole board and.
you said we were gonna circle around to the area about the advertising cost, is it related? Where was that? I didn't see that anyplace.
Oh,
And I bring that up, first of all, Amy, what is the advertising cost?
It's,
Approximately.
around $250,
Okay, so if someone spends right now 700 with us,
300.
300.
300 with us, 250 of it is for advertising,
Yes.
okay. And,
That, and, we also have to do the mailing to abutters. That's our first class mail, mailing of the decisions, that all needs to be covered.
who's paying for that now? We are,
You're right, it's,
okay.
yeah.
And is the proposal that the applicant would pay for those things too?
under the
No.
proposal, the only thing new would be they'd be paying for the advertisement cost.
Okay, and so how do we bill and collect that, and, in other words, from
When
there?
you put your application in, you have to give the advertising fee, but plus the application fee.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand how,
Yeah.
you know,
And we have a lot
is this something that by the time you spend all the money doing it, okay, and following up, that would be better to just have a higher application fee and just include the advertising cost? Do we negotiate, okay,
And a lot of forever stamps.
okay.
So one of the,
Page 6 is where it's addressed.
Yeah,
one of the reasoning to go down this pathway too is that we established the revolving account for the planning board and the zoning board, similar like the conservation commission. So the applicant pays in the conservation commission's case, they pay for the advertisement, you get a separate check from the applicant. It goes into the revolving account, and then we pay the Sun Chronicle for the advertisement, so that way it comes in and comes out. The way it is right now with us presently, we're paying the application fee is covering the advertisement, but the advertisement, the money to pay the paper is coming out of our land use advertising budget, and we're getting croaked with ads that we actually, last year, we ended up having to transfer other line items to cover, cause we didn't have the money. I mean, it gets back to the town in a way, through the, through the general fund, but as far as the budget-wise goes, it's really hard to manage the budgeting of it, because the advertisement costs with projects, we don't have a good predictability of it. And we carry, in our advertising budget for the department, we cover, when we need to advertise regulations too, like that kind of stuff. We need to pay for those type of advertisements, but we're covering application advertisements too right now. So we wanted to have the separate fee, so that way they'll pay it to us, it'll go in a separate account, and in turn, pay out the newspaper. What we really wanted to do, but I don't think we can, actually, Betsy checked with the Sun Chronicle.
Oh, did you?
I'm pretty sure she did. Some towns, it depends on newspaper, but the we would send the ad over to the paper, they would run it, and then they would bill the applicant directly, and we would just make sure that they paid it, so we would be out of it in that way. But from my understanding, with the Sun Chronicle, that's not how they do it.
We have to make sure it gets
It
advertised.
has- Exactly.
And we have to make sure it gets
Yeah,
advertised, so.
So the application fee used to really be an advertising fee, really what it was. Most of the
mailings
money
and
in the
copies.
application fee went to
Yeah.
advertising.
We-
So we're
money
now,
just
so,
disappears.
We lose money.
Yeah, you've gotta be in the negative on a majority
Yeah.
of the applications.
so how do
yeah.
does the town wanna develop an application fee? Because you can't say the advertising fee will be separate, because people are gonna ask, what is the application fee? Isn't it a service of the town to provide, 40B applications, special permit applications, so is it really not an application fee anymore? Is it an advertising fee, or are we actually charging an application?
No, we'll still charge the application fee.
But what is that? What is included in the application
So
fee?
included in the application fee will be, mailings, postings. the work
Notices
is-
to abutters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
notice to abutters.
Okay.
And
that will-
So essentially trying to recover some of the costs as far as, writing decisions for the board, the hearing, the admin work associated with it.
And that proposed fee is 500 now?
Yeah.
And it would be the same with the planning board, is that correct?
So if I
As
may, on a thick decision such as the last one we mailed out, that, it cost over $2, it was a thick envelope, and it was $2 each for 85 of them,
Was that the enclave?
so.
We're kind of in the red point with,
So that plus, just to look at the enclave, that plus all the notices that would have had to have gone out previously on that,
Yeah.
plus the advertising fee of $250, so $2 at 80 of those would be another 160, there you,
Yeah,
math, so that, you're already, that's cash out, that's
it is,
just
yeah.
done. It's,
it's gone. And some of this, the application fee is, the reasonable cost for, the process, the work associated with doing the application, so if you want, we can try to, like in the private sector, try to quantify the work associated with it to give you a better idea, because we're trying to separate it out. But we do know clearly right now, we're definitely in the negative, because we're paying for the ad, and then we're paying for the mailing, and then and then the ad didn't work, is going along with it. So we're definitely in the negative side right now with it. But like I said,
So it,
but we are gonna propose, as we get into this, the notice of decision, we're asking to send out a notice card, so instead of mailing a complete, note with decision in it, other towns are sending out essentially a postcard with a notice,
Online.
and then we'll have the link
go
will be
online
within the
or
postcard.
come access a hard copy at the town
you
hall,
know.
yeah.
So the idea, we're swinging, we're automating more, so maybe, I don't know, maybe 500 is too much to go with as we separate things, but we don't really amend these fees too often, so it's kinda.
It sounds like there's more money to pay for the clerk to write them.
Which is, yeah, the problem is we had the last one, which was what, 9, what was the one we had last month, 9,
I'm not.
39, what was it, 39 Leland, was it?
Well, we had 3 of these.
Yeah, what was the last one we had, this guy who brought in his,
Oh, his
Hand scratch,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
39.
That's why I
Yeah.
like that
I
one.
mean, he
Yes.
had no changes, so
Right.
if you look at this, he was gonna be charged close to $900 for a special permit. And really, only reason he needed one, because he had a non-conforming property, which probably was a great deal. And I know we have a section here that talks about an appeal to the fee,
Yeah.
but that seems like a lot for a project like that. For that small, all 3 of those were relatively small.
Yeah,
So 900 seems like a lot of money for that.
why was it 900, not 500?
Well, it would be 900. It would be
Oh, 'cause,
$500 for the application, and
Alright.
probably $300 for the filing, for the advertising. So it seems, we may wanna quantify how we do the application fee. The advertising fee is whatever,
Yeah,
Current
no, that's a
market rate
straight
is-
out number, so I
Yeah.
think
And I think, what do? You call the newspaper, or do you just book it and they just send us the bill now? We don't call and ask what the rate is currently for advertising, right? We just,
No, I send the ad and then they get back with the cost.
you know,
They tell me what the cost is.
so I think we just note that in here, that the advertising fee will be paid by the applicant. Upon submittal of the application, Amy, she will verify the cost.
Right, that's what we do with
So-
conservation. Once I
Yeah.
get the cost, I let
So
the
we did
applicant know.
earlier in on page 6, that's where we did cover the advertising.
Right.
Which is what Don was asking.
Yeah,
about,
what you were asking about. So we did do that, in addition to the application thing. But I think it's a point to take that we should, that's a good example where the fee becomes, rather large.
But it would make sense to have the zoning board fee and the planning board fee be the same.
It would be nice to do that, yeah.
I mean, it's actually, I think the zoning board you have more work, I think, because we actually go through a lot more, hearings, don't we, than the planning board? Don't we issue a lot more special permits than the planning board?
I don't know. I don't know about the planning board.
I don't know off the top of my head to tell
But
you.
we
I mean, I
could-
think it's sheer
Nick
numbers,
saying
yeah,
it
you
would be
probably do.
A good policy, but,
Yeah.
we probably have, the zoning board, Amy probably has more work as far as producing special permits. I mean, we did three last week, so how many did the planning board have last week? I know they didn't have 3
No.
special permits.
I think sheer volume numbers, yeah, you'll definitely produce
yeah,
more than the
right.
planning board. Is the,
And they don't have comprehensive, their subdivisions, are
yeah,
their permits much larger? They probably are larger than our comprehensive permits.
but the work, so that's where it kind of varies a little bit, so, you know, they may have one, I'll say, special permit site plan application, but sometimes there's a lot more work involved with it, even though it's one application, it's multiple hearings, so the kind of work involved with it on the application fee side would be greater,
Okay.
but you do have more as far as sheer numbers of.
I just think you
I think-
have to come back to us with, you
Yeah, I
think
think
the
we'll come back
application
with a
fee
fee.
should be.
I agree.
And I agree with Don, it should be
Yeah.
consistent with what we're doing on the planning board, just to make it easier for everybody.
Okay. We'll go back and. And now the old fee schedule has,
You're on page 11 or page 11?
now going back to
Page
12 now.
Okay.
So under the old fee schedule, you have Wetland Floodplain Act and the watershed hearing, and then you have the Aqua Protection hearing.
These are just review fees.
Oh, yeah, there's, okay. There is a fee.
But you're pulling all those out of here.
Yeah.
Yep. So we don't need to look at those right
Nope.
now.
You have a separate fee schedule. Good.
Okay. All right, so now you're on page 13.
13, Alright, so I'm thinking, what? So we're striking out grant? To dispose of a variance?
Shall be necessary to.
I wanna keep grants in there, right?
I would think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know where dispose of came though, because I didn't mark it in yellow, so I don't know if I added it.
Is it grant or dispose of, or
I'm saying.
grant or deny?
Yeah.
This was,
Basically,
Or
it's to decide on.
adjudicate-
It's basically to
adjudicate.
decide, well, we're not gonna grant everything, right?
decision.
Yeah, it's to
Really,
decide
isn't
on, right? Shall be necessary to decide on.
Or to decision of
Or
variance.
for a determination on.
I like the determination. Is a good word, it's a good word.
Place is gravel.
Seriously.
Or grant and deny, or deny.
No, no, determination.
That encompasses both of your words.
Determination of a variance special permit.
Okay.
And then you have to check the comprehensive, because this says 4 members, and we're checking
Yeah.
to see what a comprehensive permit requires, if it requires a vote of 5.
Yeah.
Just so you have that, you may have, just on that, you know what I'm saying, Amy?
yeah, I think the first question was about a quorum. And this
Yeah,
is
for-
about
that was a
code, so,
Quorum.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
To make a decision, obviously, we're gonna need, it should be consistent, because it says a concurrent vote of at least 4 members. And it cites various special permits or a comprehensive permit. So we just have to verify if 4 is enough for a comp permit.
Okay.
I mean, you think it is, but just
I
double
think
check.
it is, but we-
Just double check.
Oh, here, I have it.
I have that.
So, concurrent.
The word disposed is used again, go to C.
Is it being used like?
Disposition.
Yeah, it's being used in terms of assessment, right?
Yeah, I think it's being used as if it would relate to the disposition of a
Right.
matter, but it just doesn't sound,
Yeah, it sounds like it's throwing it away.
yeah,
With that dictionary.
I'm right here.
So what is, okay, so B you wanna take out, correct? Rich?
Green means talk about it.
We gotta talk about it.
I've never heard of being declared passed. I don't think we've ever passed anything.
I wouldn't want to be declared passed.
No. Where does that say?
In B.
B, yeah, I
In
never think
B?
we've ever,
Remember we
Oh,
got this
yeah.
green from, Amy?
yeah.
I'm sorry?
Where did the green come from in B?
Well, it came from the original, let me see, page 13, page 13 to 14 on the original. That language is in there, and I highlighted it green because I don't know what it means.
Yeah, okay, all right. I see what you're saying. 13.
This sounds like
Do-
we're
do you
actually
have-
voting on
do-
each condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you,
This is just amendments to motions, though.
No, this is
Motions, B, are we moving past B?
isn't it inherent, either we vote yea or nay, but do you have to, like, say it
No.
in an article? You know what I mean?
We don't follow this. I don't know where this came from.
Well, you are supposed to, you are, what do you mean? You have to vote, yeah, you have to say what your vote is.
And yeah, no, it says here, any amendments or
Yeah.
conditions proposed in the original motion to grant a variance, special permit, exemption, or appeal shall be declared passed based on the amendments receiving more yeas than nays. No kidding.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Right. We do vote on amendments, right?
You could just say based on a voice vote, so that you're not getting, I
But-
mean,
but-
the
but
way
won't
it's.
it'll be presumed passed just by the act of doing it. You don't have to say it,
Right.
right?
Decisions we follow, sign
Well, I think sometimes is this if you change the actual, the variant that's submitted, if we make a change to what's been presented to us?
This is that this is pertaining to. It's pertaining to,
Right, but if we make some sort of change, we just have to agree on it, right?
of course.
Right.
We do, but my question is, do you have to state that? I mean, do you have to state that more yays than nays are necessary? You know what I mean? Of course they are, right?
Yes, it's kind of just stating the, kind of the obvious, I guess.
Seems
it's-
like-
It's actually confusing the obvious.
Well,
Well,
yes,
so
no, I
who's-
know.
Who's responsible for the green?
Strike it.
The green is in the present regulations.
Well, it really doesn't make sense, because then it goes on and says, the record shall show the vote of each member upon each question, but we're saying yeas and nays right above it. It doesn't make sense, because we say either yay, all those in favor, aye,
Yeah.
then it says, the record shall show. Well, we don't follow that procedure.
That's like on
That
a
just
roll
references
call
the
vote.
minutes or.
But we
Yeah,
do,
it says only in a roll call vote where we asked yes to grant, which was actually voting a variance. Rich, you just gotta clean up this. This is sort of a bit of a,
Yeah,
why don't you look through this
yeah.
again?
We might
Because
just-
it also doesn't talk about continuations. It says approve
Yeah.
conditions, denied, doesn't
Yeah.
talk about continuations.
Yeah, this is not,
So why don't you take a look at that again?
yeah.
Let's go to this point forward, not updated yet on page 14.
We can't go to 14.
Why
Oh,
not?
yeah, that's right.
They hit a dead end.
And what that's,
Uh-oh.
oh, that's right, no, I did not get back to that last part. It's,
Uh-oh.
not updated yet.
There's a warning.
She was busy
that's why I
writing,
wanna go
I haven't
14.
chatted.
she was doing all of her mailing work,
I
she
thought
we
didn't
were
have
going to 14.
time.
There's
She was
no
at the
update.
postage meter, just
Oh,
running
we can't go
decisions.
forward, too bad.
So,
Oh, what a shame.
Is that it for tonight? So we
but
can
that's
do-
all there
we
is,
can
I
do
mean,
all
you
again.
guys, we can go through it and update it right now, it's just that little bit there.
Why don't
That's
you
what's
go,
not
why don't you
updated.
guys go through it and then bring it back to us? I think
Yeah, that
it'll
sounds
be much
better,
easier.
actually.
Well, a lot less yellows in the front pages.
But now you can take what we did in the front page and incorporate it.
By the way, as a clarification, I have the 40B law here, and it says that the decision must be approved by a simple majority of the ZBA members sitting on the case. However, I have not been able to find where it says
How many?
minimum number of people who must be able to sit on the case.
Well, 40B can't dictate how you set your board up.
Because some towns don't have a 5-member board.
Yeah, there could be a 3-member ZBA in a tiny town. You can't set a numerical value on how you're gonna govern your, no, I'm not, and I'm not.
I don't know
Hey,
that.
you
I'm
can't
not
set a
a lawyer.
numerical value on how you're gonna, you're not the boss of me, but, you just can't.
So
Okay.
when we grant a special permit, it needs to be a supermajority. So we need 4 out of 5 for a
Right,
special
for a
permit,
special
but a
permit, yeah.
comprehensive permit only needs a simple majority.
So of the 5 people who would be
Just
available
3.
to, you just need. Okay.
Question on
Where
one
do we
E.
state how many people have to
If a
be?
permit is
Twen-
granted,
Right, for the
Or-
board.
one E,
Yeah, that I don't.
1E,
It is
Article
stated.
5, Section 1,
what page?
E.
13.
Is it in here?
I don't know.
40Bs?
Oh, you don't have
Form
it?
is?
I don't know.
13?
Oh, 24, yep,
We'll have to
13.
look and see.
I don't have
I don't
page
see
numbers.
it here.
Oh, really?
I know.
What's the question on 13?
I've been following them. So it says, if a permit is granted, the applicant prior to construction must present final detailed construction plans to the building inspector to ensure that the plans are consistent with the permit and with local and state requirements as applicable to that permit. Aren't we doing with, the 40B projects, aren't those going to the peer reviewer?
No, they actually go to the building inspector.
Well, what I'm saying is, aren't the plans for 40B projects being reviewed?
Mhm.
Prior to the,
Yeah, this is it, this is the voting.
this is once it's been granted. Prior to construction, prior to, I
This
mean,
is after the peer reviews,
I mean, it's sort of a strange thing, because before the applicant does construction, he has to get a building permit, which means he has to give plans to the building inspector. Regardless.
We do also send, once we get the final plans, we send them back to the reviewer, don't we?
We send them to the peer reviewer.
Yeah.
But this talks about the building inspector.
We don't
No, I
actually
know.
cover specifically.
I'm saying, should it also include
The peer reviewer?
if
If
necessary
applicable,
or?
yeah.
Okay, yep. Yeah, I think that makes good sense.
Yeah, 'cause
You may wanna say-
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You may
'cause
wanna say construction plans to the peer reviewer, then to the building inspector, once approved, once reviewed by the
Right,
peer
because
reviewer.
you have the consultant review the plans before you sign them.
Right, and then give them to the building inspector, so that if there is a problem, the building inspector isn't looking at a plan that's not accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
Good catch, Joe.
I thought so.
We thought you were asleep over there.
All right, so I guess we're,
Okay, so you go back and edit this and then bring it forward to us
Yeah.
again? At another scheduled meeting?
on the scheduled meeting.
What do you say,
think,
like July of 2022?
Yeah, right.
We're in August now.
Huh?
Good.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
That way it gives you time at the next one to maybe have a fee schedule, advertising,
Meetings, you can't vote.
write-up for us as well. So we have sort of an
That
idea on your
is,
ideas on fee schedule.
Is this a town
That's
regulation?
in 40, no,
That
that's
will
in
not be part of this,
48.
but we will have to,
You'll have to adopt it,
Yeah.
we'll
right?
have to
Where does it
adopt
say
it.
that?
Well,
All right,
In 40B.
So,
I think it might
well,
be
yeah,
open meeting.
well, June 5th is pretty busy.
Let me look at
yeah,
it.
we don't want, I would say June 19th at this time. So if you wanna come back to us on June 19th to do that, I'll put that on for June 19th right now to look at these again.
I mean, I'll be here
So
for the
this-
fifth or something.
Yeah,
The
I think you're
fifth is
here on the
busy.
fifth,
But that's all right, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be here on the fifth, but we'll do
Gives you a
this on
month.
the 19th.
Gives you a month, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, all right. Okay,
Okay. Is that it that you have, Rich?
I do.
Okay.
And actually, hope, cross my fingers, maybe by the 19th, the software,
I have a good idea of it
we'll
anyway.
talk to them tomorrow.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And we have two sets of minutes, meeting minutes, right, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so does everybody want to take a look at the March 20th meeting minutes? Thank you, Rich.
Okay, you were present, but you reclused yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment. The date at the bottom of the page doesn't match the top.
Oh, on April 3rd?
Yeah.
And then in the paragraph on the second, on the back page, Amy, where it says Mr. McGrath, third paragraph down. It says, some shrubs around the building, potential interference with leach fields by trees. Should be with, Devin, when you, isn't that leaching fields, or do you guys refer to them as leach fields? Leaching fields?
Leaching.
Which,
I would say leaching fields. Third paragraph, page number that,
okay,
leaching fields.
okay.
Anybody else have anything else on the March 20th? Do I have a motion to approve the March 20th, 2019 meeting minutes as amended?
I so move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll now take a look at the April 3rd, 2019 meeting minutes.
That one has a date mismatch.
Yeah.
Right, that one has a date mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of March 20th, 2019.
April 3rd, right? April 3rd. So you said,
We did them in reverse.
I'm all messed up.
Yeah.
we had March 20th was the first one, so this is the April 3rd. So you wanna make a motion to approve the April 3rd?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2019.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
I knew there's something, that's because when you talked about the dates, I said something else, but even to the 31st.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the zoning board of appeals meeting.
Oh, do you? You think we're done? If anybody wants to, no, we actually have to
Mark it up by hand?
What do you want, you want a clean copy? I scribbled on this one.
no, just,
No, I'm gonna scribble on this, because I
I think Joe
Oh,
wants to
it's marked
change.
up.
He probably wants to be the clerk, but he's gonna be the clerk.
You sure?
Oh, I did it.
Okay, it's up to you.
This one,
Well, this
same
one,
thing.
well, this one I can sign, this one's not, oh, we're gonna change the page, though, right? That's something we're gonna change on this one.
We have more stuff to do?
Right, okay, I'll sign next one.
I just have to, just remind everybody that in June, if anybody wants to, take on a different assignment, I think the clerk position, I think Mike is gonna stay vice chairman. I don't know if anybody wants to be the chair, please let me know. If they don't, I will continue to do it as appropriate, and obviously you two are gonna continue to share the clerk positions, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. Just if there's any changes, somebody should bring it forward in the June meeting, if they want, okay? Other than that, do I have a motion to close the CBA meeting? Mr. Hanson?
Not for me.
No, you don't wanna close it?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Wanna keep it open?
I make a motion to close CBA meeting of, what's today's date?
May
May
22nd,
May 22nd,
8:42.
8:42 PM.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris.
I am still on.